It's Thursday, April 29th, and this is now on HNN.
The motion is carried. The House stands adjourned sine die.
Hawaii lawmakers wrap up the 2021 legislative session with several key bills heading to Governor Ige's desk.
The family of George Floyd meets with lawmakers on Capitol Hill. I'm Steve Dorsey with how negotiations for police reform are picking up steam.
Meanwhile, Honolulu's prosecutor is rethinking the investigative process of police killings.
And I believe it is critical to have an independent but thorough, objective investigation into both of these cases.
Plus, Mark Zuckerberg has purchased another 600 acres of land on Kauai. These stories and more coming up on This Is Now.
The House rolled up its sleeves, focused in, and achieved major results that will help our residents, our environment, and our economy.
Members of the State House giving remarks just moments ago following the end of their session. Today marks the completion of the 2021 legislature with a number of important bills heading to Governor David Ige's desk.
More on that in just a moment, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. This is Now. Ashley and Jonathan here. We want to get to the latest coronavirus numbers from the State Department of Health. DOH is reporting 122 new cases today and 1 new fatality. We'll have the breakdown by island for you on your HNN digital platforms. But we want to mention Kauai County is independently reporting 13 new cases today. Officials say all the cases are residents, 5 children and 8 adults. They say 3 of the cases are related to inter-island travel and the rest are considered community spread. There are now 43 active cases on Kauai. Let's get you live outside now with a live look at the state capitol. And as we mentioned, the 2021 legislative session ends today. So Casey Lund went to ask lawmakers what they accomplished this year. Here's what they had to say.
Many of the bigger pieces of legislation are already on the way to Governor Ige's desk for signing or vetoing. One of the most notable is a transient accommodation tax that would remove revenue from hotel taxes to the county level, bringing that money back to the state. County mayors have spoken out about this measure, but lawmakers like Chair of the Tourism and Labor Committee, Richard Onishi, say it's the way Hawaii has to move forward.
The appropriation out of the existing TAT has been a concern of ours in terms of whether or not the counties are actually using that money to mitigate visitor impact. So coming into this session with the huge deficit, we knew that we would have to make cuts. And one of those cuts was taking back the county's appropriation of $103 million.
To make up for those lost funds, counties would be allowed to impose their own additional hotel tax of up to 3%, bumping the total hotel room tax to more than 13% per night. House Finance Committee Chair Sylvia Luke says the legislature also took action to support Hawaii's teachers and students during the pandemic.
We were able to pass a bill that provided about $25 million for one-time teacher retention bonuses. In addition to that, about $200 million of funding that goes directly to the classrooms, including virtual learning and outreach.
Lawmakers also approved funding for a red light camera program with a fine of more than $100. The state DOT would put them in at 14 intersections on Oahu as early as this summer. Those intersections mostly in the downtown and Chinatown areas that were identified as high risk based on crash history. Opponents say the program could open the state up to lawsuits and is flawed because the owner of the car gets the fine instead of the person who was driving at the time. Another bill introduced again this session removes the requirement for reconstructed vehicles to obtain a special inspection and certification. That measure passed both the House and Senate this week and will head to the governor's desk to either be signed or vetoed. And if these bills are signed into law by the governor, they take effect starting July 1st of this year. Speaking of Governor Ige, a measure that would have limited his emergency proclamation powers during the pandemic also died in the state legislature. Reporting at the Capitol, I'm Casey Lund. Now back to you.
New City Prosecutor Steve Alm just held a press conference to discuss how deadly officer-involved shootings are investigated. This comes after 2 incidents just this month. Here's a little bit of what he had to say.
I would like to address the 2 recent officer-involved shooting of civilians on Kalakaua and in Nu'uanu. In the past, HPD would investigate all officer-involved shootings. They would do the investigation and then forward their conclusions and recommendations to the prosecutors, often a process that took more than a year. This is not to say that HPD did not do a thorough professional job in each case. They have fine, dedicated detectives and investigators. They know what they're doing. This also is not saying that the prior administration at the Honolulu Prosecutor's Office didn't make the right call in whether or not to charge someone. But this is a new administration, and we are looking at all of the practices and procedures, and we are going to do things differently. Whenever you have an agency that is involved in the shooting, then responsible for investigating that shooting, you are always going to have the perception among some that it's not appropriate, and thus their final conclusions and recommendations may be suspect. And I believe it is critical to have an independent but thorough, objective investigation into both of these cases and for any future police-involved shootings of civilians.
Meanwhile, in D.C., a bipartisan group of lawmakers met today to discuss potential police reform legislation. Steve Dorsey reports.
Relatives of George Floyd and Eric Garner were among a group who met with both Republican and Democratic lawmakers on Capitol Hill Thursday to push for police reform.
This was about them understanding that this is very real to all of us, but it means more to these families than anybody else.
The visit comes as a bipartisan group of lawmakers tries to negotiate a deal.
They are driving this change, and the pain and the hurt, as well as the turning that pain into even a deeper, broader purpose. This is what's going to make the difference.
Last night, President Biden called on Congress to pass comprehensive police reform by the first anniversary of Floyd's murder next month.
We've all seen the knee of injustice on the neck of Black Americans. Now's our opportunity to make some real progress.
In March, the House passed the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, which would, among other things, ban chokeholds and some no-knock warrants and prohibit racial and religious profiling. But overhauling protections for police, which would make it easier to hold officers accountable in court, has been a sticking point for Senate Republicans. Still, Republican Senator Tim Scott is hopeful.
What do you hope to accomplish today?
Progress.
335 people in the U.S. have been killed by police so far this year, according to mappingpoliceviolence.org. The group says in recent years, 98% of police killings have not resulted in charges against the officer. Steve Dorsey, CBS News, the White House.
A makeshift memorial at the scene of a fatal police shooting is drawing mourners day and night. Nearby businesses are trying to be understanding, but they're also worried the group is scaring away customers. Ben Gutierrez has the story.
It's been more than 3 weeks since police shot and killed 16-year-old I Remember Sycap, and a memorial has been growing at the corner where the incident happened. Some say it's a sign of the family's mourning, but others are concerned that people are here 24/7. It's more than just flowers. The corner of Kalakaua Avenue and Phillip Street has become a gathering place day and night, right across the street from some mom-and-pop restaurants.
This prolonged mourning is affecting business because, as you can hear right now, it's very noisy.
This frequent longtime patron was too afraid to show his face. He says the gatherings are scaring others away.
When the sun goes down, they start getting drunk. You can see them pouring the liquor. It's a different type of mourning. It's painful mourning. And they're not doing it at home, they're doing it here.
2 of Sycap's brothers are also accused of robbing and assaulting a woman walking by the memorial. Sycap's family and friends have recently kept the media from getting too close, but they have said they want justice.
Enough is enough.
That's well understood here at Thomas Square, where protesters are speaking out against police brutality. They say the community should try to understand the SICAP family's emotions.
More than a frustration, it's a memorial for the killing and the death of a 16-year-old boy. And it's more telling people, look at this, what happened to this young man.
Iris Sanchez also knows that anguish. Her son Piccolo was shot and killed by police in 2017.
You will live with that pain to the day you die, So when I see other people and other families that are grieving for their loved ones, oh my God, it just kills me.
Back at the SICAP Memorial, taking up space on a public sidewalk is technically illegal. We asked the city how much longer the gatherings would be allowed, but didn't get an immediate response. For now, the community has no choice but to let them grieve and hear the message they're sharing in their own way.
They're basically saying, look, we know what we're doing is wrong. We just don't want you to kill us for it.
Ben Gutierrez, Hawaii News Now.
Hawaii Cat Cafe has been vandalized for a second time in the last 2 months. The owner told the Star Advertiser security video showed a man repeatedly throwing large rocks and breaking multiple windows at the cafe's front glass door around midnight on Tuesday. Something similar happened last month. The cafe posted these images to Facebook. None of the cats escaped and none were injured. The cafe has since reopened. So this is my Arizona driver's license that I got way back when I was 24 years old. Believe it or not, it's still a valid form of ID to travel with, but that was all supposed to change with new Gold Star ID requirements that were about to take place. But now those are delayed too because of coronavirus. Here's CBS travel editor Peter Greenberg to explain why.
Actually, it was an act passed by Congress back in 2015, and they've never finished the deal. Even though it's an act, it's a signed piece of legislation. It means you have to go to the DMV and get a special ID star. It's a little gold star put on your driver's license that then tells the folks at the TSA that really is you and that serves as your ID. Now, so few people have been going to the DMV or have been paying attention that every year when the deadline shows up, they keep extending it. 2015 went to 2016 and 17 and 18 and 19. Then 20, we had the pandemic. 21, the deadline was supposed to be this October. Here it comes. They're being totally consistent here. The feds have pushed back the deadline, I should say, for the real ID to 2023. Now, if you happen to have a passport, you already have real ID. But for those of you who don't and you want to travel, when you get a chance, sometime in the next millennium, based on this current track record of real ID, you might want to go to the DMV in your state and get it.
Maui County says it plans to start its mandatory post-arrival tests for Trans-Pacific travelers on Tuesday. Officials have narrowed down their list of companies that will administer the tests at the airport in Kahului. Anyone traveling from the mainland will have to take the test unless they can prove they're fully vaccinated.
If you bring your vaccination card, just like the inter-county travel, and the card is something we will look at, and we can pretty much tell if it's genuine or not. That's how we're going to allow you in to skip. Hopefully people won't cheat, but again, like anything else, we'll catch you sooner or later, so don't worry about that.
The so-called vaccine passport program for inter-island travel is expected to start 1 week after Maui's mandatory post-arrival testing. The U.S. is sending more than $100 million worth of supplies to help India fight a surge of COVID-19 cases. The country is facing the world's worst outbreak of the virus. Ian Lee has more.
These American medical supplies are bound for India. The shipment includes essentials like rapid COVID tests and masks for frontline workers. Everywhere you look in India, people are dead or dying. Hospital beds and oxygen are in short supply, forcing doctors to make some tough decisions. Many COVID patients end up here at the cemetery. Said Kamruddin says he digs graves non-stop because the bodies just keep coming. Daily deaths have nearly tripled in the past 3 weeks. The death toll now stands at over 200,000. This gravedigger says we've run out of space, so they're squeezing bodies together. Crematoriums are running out of wood, so trees are cut down in city parks, but still, it's not enough to keep up. Vaccinations for all adults are supposed to start on Saturday, But even as the world's biggest vaccine producer, India doesn't have enough doses for everyone. The U.S. is flying in raw materials to make vaccines, while Russia and Britain are sending in medicine and ventilators. Ian Lee, CBS News.
Federal agencies are investigating a mysterious energy attack near the White House. Sources say the attack happened in November of last year near the large oval lawn on the south side of the White House. The attack appears to be similar to dozens of incidents that have hit CIA and State Department personnel overseas. Those impacted suffered debilitating symptoms, including vertigo, ear popping, and nausea. Defense officials briefed lawmakers about the incident in Washington earlier this month. They report one National Security Council official got sick from this recent attack. Defense officials say Russia may be behind this, but they don't have enough information to be for sure. Now we want to get to a special report. We're going to take you inside Afghanistan as U.S. troops prepare to withdraw. Here's Charlie D'Agata.
With the Taliban gaining more ground by the day, traveling by road has never been more dangerous. So we were flown to the military base where Afghan soldiers were putting on a show of force. Staged military exercises. The weapons and training provided by American troops. The Taliban has already threatened to escalate attacks once the U.S. misses the previously agreed May 1st deadline to withdraw. And the U.S. military is preparing for that, sending in hundreds of Army Rangers, B-52 bombers, and the USS Eisenhower to safeguard the pullout. But by 9/11, all U.S. troops will be gone. It will be down to hundreds of thousands of Afghan service members to defend against the Taliban, especially these U.S.-trained commandos, with women such as Marufa, a special forces soldier, taking a central role.
Many say if the Taliban take over control, they're going to take away women's rights. What is your message to the Taliban?
It is not possible. The Taliban came and control our government.
And what if they try?
If they try, we will fight with them.
One of the reasons for the U.S. withdrawal is the belief that Afghanistan will no longer be a launch pad for terrorist attacks by groups like Al-Qaeda. But commanders on the ground here tell us Al-Qaeda and the Taliban are intrinsically linked. In his words, they're like family. General Yassin Zia and his forces now face the prospect of a Taliban offensive without the backup of U.S. military support and air power.
What will you miss most about the U.S. presence here?
The friendship.
The friendship?
Yeah, because we fought together for 20 years, and we must fight. There is no other option. As long as the Taliban are fighting against us, and it looks like they will, then we don't have any other option.
The general told us American troops have already started pulling back from bases in the south and the east. That's where the Taliban are at their strongest. As for whether the Afghan military will be ready to hold their own, the top U.S. general here says they'll have to be. Charlie D'Agata, CBS News.
Thanks, Charlie, for that update. We'll be sure to follow all those developments as that process goes on in the months ahead. All right, we want to switch gears here quite a bit. We're going to turn it over to our guy, Hoggy, to get a check of the weather.
How's it on this Thursday? Textbook trade wind weather today. Trade winds filling in across the state as the rain actually backs off. Granted, we will still see some passing showers for those windward and Mauka areas, mostly this morning, drier by midday, and the clouds that are around us will likely burn off as well. You can see the trade winds are well in control right now, except of course for the corner side of the Big Island. And if anything, the trade winds are going to get stronger over the next several days. So we are expecting a beautiful day. Cloudy and damp to start for windward areas. Leeward sides will begin drying up, and we'll see a fair bit of sunshine so that UV index is high, extreme actually. And the sunset a little bit later, 6:56. Surf's looking up. We're expecting a rise for northwest and south shores. South Shore is going to peak today, so it's not a big swell, but some pretty nice stuff, inconsistent though. And the North Shore swell will begin peaking by tomorrow, and that swell could get to near advisory levels. So good stuff for the North and West Shores. So beautiful weather today, a few windward and Mauka showers, trade winds slowly filling in. And the trade winds will run at breezy levels from Friday all the way through Monday. Slower winds with more showers due from Tuesday on. Keep it here on Hawaii News Now. We'll have all your severe weather updates.
We've got a big local story that certainly got the internet abuzz today. Ashley, what'd you find out?
Yeah, a lot of you guys are talking about this online. Facebook founder and CEO Mark Zuckerberg has purchased another 600 acres of land on Kauai, according to Pacific Business News. Now, PBN reports Zuckerberg and his wife, Priscilla Chan, bought the 3 parcels of land for $53 million from the nonprofit Waioli Corporation. Some of the land fronts Larson's Beach, but the access road is still owned by the county and will remain open to the public. Now, the couple said they are committed to preserving the land and maintaining agriculture there. They now own more than 1,300 acres of land in Hawaii, and there have been previous controversies, if you remember, and disputes over parcels of Kuleana lands within his North Shore estate.
Yeah, definitely a lot of people talking about that on our social media platforms. All right, guys, got something really cool to show you. Check out this video game console that could be worth its weight in gold. This is a Nintendo Wii because it's really made of gold and is being sold on eBay for $300,000. The 24-karat gold-plated console was sent to the Queen of England in 2009 as a marketing stunt, but Kensington Palace returned it to the company. The owner says experts have valued the console as up to $1 million, but he declined to say how much he paid for it 4 years ago. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does it work? I don't know.
You can still play tennis on it.
Yeah.
Some royal news, you guys. So today is Prince William and Kate Middleton's 10th wedding anniversary. The world watched back in 2011 as the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge tied the knot in a fairy tale wedding full of pomp and circumstance. Since then, the 38-year-old future king and his 39-year-old wife have welcomed 3 royal children into the world.
All right, get your funky hats ready. The 147th Kentucky Derby is getting ready to gallop into the history books. It airs right here on KHNO on Saturday. We got Dan Shinneman standing by with a look at all you need to know.
Kentucky Derby is not only a horse race, it's a long-standing tradition. And if you're not at the track, it's a great reason to party. Safe and socially distanced.
Key to a great Derby party is asking that everyone please dress in their Derby Day best.
You look fantastic.
Dressing for Derby Day starts at the top with a proper hat. Kentucky Derby's 4-time featured milliner Christine A. Moore lends a hand in helping choose the proper headwear.
You could wear a fascinator, you could wear a hatinator, or you could wear a full-blown hat, which is totally Kentucky Derby style.
We start this off with a hot cast iron pan.
And no Derby experience is complete without some tasty treats. Chef David Danielson will feature Vidalia onions in food he's whipping up for 100,000 guests this weekend.
Peach and onion chutney that we put on some barbecue, spectacular black-eyed peas salad.
And don't forget the cocktail, the one synonymous with Derby Day.
The Woodford Reserve makes a mean mint julep, and I think that if you're going to have a true traditional Derby party, you have to have a mint julep.
Wagering on your favorite pony is part of the fun, and you don't have to be at the track to get involved. TwinSpires.com gives people the opportunity to place bets from anywhere in the world, and new users get a sign-up bonus. Coverage of the most exciting 2 minutes in sports starts Saturday at 12:30 Eastern on NBC. Dan Shenneman, NBC News.
All right, and the Derby itself takes place at around 8:30 a.m. right here on KHNO.
So fun. Have you been to a Derby party?
No, I've never been to a Derby, but there was horse racing near where I grew up at the county fair every year. That's the closest I ever got. People definitely broke out their cool hats for that, which I know you could rock, my friend.
I'm all about sun protection, so the bigger the hat, the better.
And those mint juleps look nice too, right? You guys, that's going to do it for This Is Now. We are so close to that weekend, so we'll be back tomorrow for your Friday edition. We'll see you then.